Hey guys, welcome back to Unit 1. We're going into Lesson 3. It's another refresher lesson from what you've seen in Algebra 1. So, our section here, we're going to be talking about linear functions and slope-intercept form. The theme is graphing lines. But before we get into graphing lines, we need to learn a certain feature about a line. It's called the slope. So in the first section here in example 1, you're going to learn how or relearn how to find the slope between 2 points by using the slope formula. As you can see here, it's m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, and we use the lowercase m to denote slope as a shortcut. The reason we use an M instead of an S is because an S can look like a 5. We don't want to confuse those. So example 1, the directions say, find the slope between the points. So I labeled these for you already. Remember, the first point is the 1's, x1, y1. The second point is always the 2's, x2, y2. So let's use the slope formula. So slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So we're going to subtract on the top, subtract on the bottom, and then we reduce the fraction. The negatives cancel, and 2 over 6 each divides by 2 to have 1/3. Let's try another one. So slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Subtract on the top and subtract on the bottom, and then 0 divided by 3 is 0. What would this mean? If you have a slope of 0, that means that it would be a horizontal line. You'll learn more about that later on. Letter C, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to subtract on the top. That would be -3. Now on the bottom, I do want to clean this up a little bit. I don't like those double negatives in between. So what I do is I just change, nope, I don't highlight. I change to a plus. Double negatives change to a plus. So that becomes -3 plus 3, which is 0. Now remember, you are not allowed to divide by 0 in math. It is impossible. So therefore, you must write the phrase no slope. No slope. You can also write undefined slope as well. I'll accept either one. Just remember that is when the 0 is in the denominator. If I were to graph that, what would that look like? That would be a straight up and down line, also known as a vertical line. Okay, so if you need to find more examples of slope, just hit up YouTube and type in slope formula. Okay, next up, in order to graph, the easiest way of graphing is when things are in the form, what's called the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. The m is, of course, the slope. It's always the coefficient of x. And then the b is called the y-intercept. It is also known as the beginning point on the y-axis when we graph later on. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some problems where they may or may not be in slope-intercept form. If they're not in slope-intercept form, we have to convert them over to y equals mx plus b. And then where it says identify the slope and the y-intercept of the line, that just means we're supposed to say what they are. So letter A. Well, I can see here that y is not by itself. So what we need to do is subtract 5x from both sides. It is essentially just moving it to the left side. You can't actually subtract it from the 4. They are not like terms. So this guy is in slope-intercept form. The slope is 5, -5, and the y-intercept is the 0.04. That would be the B. Letter B looks like this is going to take a couple steps to get y by itself. The first thing I'm going to do is add 3x to both sides to move it over to the right. Again, do not add it to the 7. They are not like terms. We have to keep them separate. Then we can divide everything by 2. So we'll have y equals 3/2 x plus 3.5. You'll notice that the slope here is 3/2. Also notice that I did not change it to 1.5. A slope we like to keep as an improper fraction. Now, I have stated before quite a few times that I'm really not a fan of improper fractions like 3/2, except when it deals with slope. And you'll see later on why that is when we start to graph it. And then the y-intercept is the 0.03.5, or 3.5. Now, y-intercept is okay to have as a decimal or mixed number because that's actually a number on the y-axis. Letter C. This guy's a little tricky here. There's no x, so it's like saying the slope is 0 because it's not there. So the slope is 0. The y-intercept is 0.7. I know that the 7 has to be the y-intercept. It cannot be the slope because the 7 does not have an x attached to it. Letter D, I got to do some converting here to get y by itself. The first thing I'm going to do is subtract 9. Then I'm going to divide everything by -2. So we'll have y equals, the negatives cancel, that'll be 9/2 x. Again, the slope, keep it as an improper fraction, as long as it's a reduced fraction. And then -5, 10 divided by -2, -5. So now you can see the slope is the coefficient of x, which is 9/2. The y-intercept is 0, -5. Okay. Letter E is a very special case here. We don't even have a y in this problem. If you don't have a y, then you can't have a y-intercept. So there is no y-intercept. And also, there is no slope. Now, side note, why is that? We're going to start graphing, and when you actually graph the equation x equals -5, it's actually a vertical line. So, and of course, a vertical line, it doesn't notice it doesn't cross the y-axis, and a vertical line has a slope of 0. Or sorry, nope, I take that back. A vertical line has no slope. The slope of 0 is a horizontal line. Okay, and then letter F, it does have both variables, so this is not a trick case here. The b is actually 0, so the slope is -4. Remember, the slope is always the coefficient of x. The b is missing, so it's a 0, so my y-intercept, we would say, is 0, 0. Okay, moving on to the next page. We are given graphs. We need to find the slope and y-intercept of the line. Then we're going to write the equation of the line. And that, of course, is going to be y equals mx plus b form. So whenever I'm doing a problem, I actually always do the y-intercept first. So the y-intercept is that point 0, -2, right here where it crosses the y-axis. For the slope m, I need another point here, like right here, where my red line would cross at the corners of a box. And then what I need to do, I need to count. Now this is a negative slope. It's going down and to the right. So it's going down 1, right 3. So my slope here is -1/3. So y equals mx plus b form. Y equals mx plus b would actually be a minus b because it's a negative. Okay, let's do another one. The y-intercept here is the point right here. So that would be 0, 2. That'll be my b in my equation. The slope, we want to put another point on where the line crosses precisely at corners, like right there. So then I count. What is that slope? That is up 2, right 3. So I would say my slope is 2/3. So my equation, y equals mx plus b. Letter C is a special case. The y-intercept, although just use what we've learned so far, the y-intercept is right here where it crosses the y-axis. So that's at 0, 3. That'll be my b. My slope is a horizontal line. That's a slope of 0. That's my m. So I'm going to go to my equation. Y equals mx plus b. But what you would do, since 0 times x is 0, you cross that out, and you'll just write y equals 3. Okay, next up we're going to learn what an intercept is. What is an intercept? It is a point where the graph crosses an axis. Due to time, I'm going to talk very fast here to speed it up because Edpuzzle may cut off the length of my videos. Therefore, if you ever need to pause and rewind, just do so within the Edpuzzle itself. So, example 4, we're going to identify the x-intercept and y-intercept of the graphs. So the x-intercept is right here. So the x-intercept is the point -6, 0, and the y-intercept is the point 0, -2. Okay, and that's all we have to do there. It just says identify them. In letter B, the y-intercept is 0, 2, and the x-intercept is here. That is the point -3, 0. Okay, so let's keep going here. We're going to be graphing in slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b. So let's get y by itself here. First, we need to subtract 6x from both sides. So now I'm ready to graph. My y-intercept is -2. And my slope is -6. So I gotta have, that's going down 6, right 1. So down 6, right 1. And then I will draw my line. Letter B has a y-intercept of 0 since it's not showing. So here's my y-intercept of 0 at the origin. My slope is another negative, so that's going to be going down 3, right 2. Down 3, right 2. And then you can draw, actually you could get more points. Down 3, right 2. And down 3, right 2. And then sketch your line as best you can. Take your time, don't speed through it. And then this guy here, letter C, let's get y by itself. First thing we're going to do is add 4x. So move it to the right side. Then we're going to divide everything by 2. So the y-intercept here is 4. The slope in front of x is 2, so remember that goes up 2 for every right 1. So up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. I like to get more points. And there's your lines. All right, guys, that's it for my lesson. Hit up YouTube if you need to see any more examples on the topics.